Shelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the bag. Hey, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Hey, hey, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Hey.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here, and I'm going to bring him up in just a minute. But I do want to do a little quick reminder. I don't know where that is. Oh, yeah, tomorrow, thefreightcoach.com. If you guys go over to it, we release a weekly newsletter. All right. I don't auto sign my contact list up for this. So if you want to get in on this, it drops every single Wednesday. We talk about the industry. We talk about rates. We talk about fuel prices, all of that stuff, you guys, in there. So just go to thefreightcoach.com. It will prompt you to register for it. Again, I personally don't like it when people just auto sign me up for stuff. So I like to, believe in the value add. If you want to join up for it. Again, once a week. We don't spam you or anything like that, because frankly, I don't even know how to do any of that stuff. My marketing team behind the scenes sets all of this up. So if you do get spam from me, let me know. I'll make sure that stops right away. But my guest today, you guys, the hustlers, road warriors, just hardworking. This is what this crew of individuals does out there. And, when my friend who's about to jump up, went over there to really take on his new role at Truck Parking Club, I got excited because, the whole team over there is just full of energy. They're out there, they're hustling. And with that being said, I got Mr. Brent Hutto on the show to break everything down truck parking. So Brent, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Oh man, Chris, it's always good to be on with the Freight Coach, man. As my dad used to say to me all the time, he'd say, Lewis, that's my middle name. He'd say, Lewis, always be coachable. He goes, people love to work with people that are coachable. So, man, great to be on today. Appreciate you having me.
No, man, I appreciate you joining. And, when you jumped over there to Truck Parking Club, I was just like, I just like, from my perspective, knowing you, knowing Evan, knowing the mission behind what they're trying to do with it, I was just so excited for it, man, because it's like, knowing you for as long as I have now, like, dude, you bleed transportation, all things freight. And, just based on what I see out there, especially with Truck Parking Club and what they're doing, man, that like there's a whole side of this industry inside of the parking realm that needs to be streamlined, and it needs to be brought to light about actually providing a solution that, the drivers can benefit from.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. First off, say bleed transportation. I appreciate you saying that as well. I got into transportation officially in '98, but I've been around it my whole life, with growing up in a small steel processing company that my dad owned. And then I used to run the fork truck and load trucks, and got to know truck drivers, and I've been around it my whole life. And then I got to work in it starting in '98 with the sort of advertising and media side of this industry, and then worked for Truck Stop for 12 years and understanding how freight moves. And what's interesting, Chris, and you're probably the same way, man, because you got the same passion for this. Man, when you get into trucking and you start getting into how freight moves in America, it's exciting. It's like you grow in your knowledge of so many new things all the time, because freight, it looks simple to the outside world, but it is so complex, and it's so full of problems to be solved and inefficiencies to create. And so to me, it's been a blessing and honor just to be a part of the transportation industry. And on top of that, Chris, it's full of great people like yourself. It's just full of great people that love what they do, that love working with people, that love, trying to create benefit for each other. So, man, it's hard not to love trucking. If you don't, you're probably not breathing oxygen,
Yeah.
and then when you talked about, just kind of working on something that's just kind of like, you've got the right goal, because it's a worthy goal. It's a worthy sort of problem to be solved. And so when I saw what was going on with Evan and the team over there at Truck Parking Club, and just made a lot of sense for me, man. I love solving the problems, because I love helping trucking, because trucking helps us so much.
No, I agree with that. And so, like what is it now that you are personally going after, with your new role out there?
Yeah.
What are you really trying to establish and build out?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that. So first off, we're here to provide safe, legal, efficient truck parking for any truck that needs to park in the United States, and we want to help those that have property that want to monetize or create revenue in their property. We try to bring that market to them and make it a seamless transaction where everybody benefits across the board. But my job, and I'll back up just one step. So I met Evan back when he first launched the product. I said, man, you're going to be successful. This is the type of solution that transportation needs, where you get the market sort of working with each other on it. And because I know how that works, I know that from freight. And so I know how those things kind of are. When you got a mutual benefit for two parties, they can't help but work together. So this mutual benefit in parking, where you get trucks that need to park and people that own property that want to park trucks on that property, it'll work. And so, so when Evan and the team started building the product, they built it from the ground up. And so they built it for, okay, how do we solve the problem for that one truck that needs to be able to park? And so we in the beginning, Truck Parking Club didn't start to communicate to the larger part of the market, the medium-sized fleets, the guys that own, say, 400 trucks or 500 trucks or 10,000 trucks. We didn't really work with them. We didn't really start with that process in mind. We started solving the problem for the base customer, that one truck that needed to park. Then how do we scale it big enough where it had enough inventory in it to be able to really be a benefit to somebody who might have 500 trucks or might have 1,000 trucks? Because it's a different game when you got 1,000 of something to be able to create efficiency in. And so Evan asked me back in October of 2024. He goes, "Hey man, would you be willing to consider coming on the team?" And after some discussions, obviously, I said yes, because here I am. I'm wearing the logo. Got my quarter zip on. It's so enjoying what it can do to help the market. But my job, he asked me. I said, "Well, what is it you want me to do?" He said, "Well, I really want you to help us really communicate the brand, for one thing, because you've been doing that for a long time." He goes, "Second, he goes, I want to really work with the large and medium fleets in the United States, the kind of the top 250 size fleets out there. That what's the solution? What's the brand proposition? What's the value need to be expressed to them so they can do something honestly?" And this is what we've discovered, Chris, to do something that they really haven't had to do in the past, which is to pay for parking.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at it, you go, "Oh gosh, great, another expense."
Yeah.
But that's not the way to look at it. And so it's really my job is to help these fleets to uncover what are those ways, and I'm happy to talk about those things. What are the things that make it a value to the customer, to that person that has 300 trucks or 500 trucks or has 1,000 trailers or something that they need to park? What's the value there that needs to be expressed? So it can be it's not a cost. It's a profitability tool for them. So yeah, so that's really my responsibility.
And I also look at it from a broker standpoint here,
Yeah,
because
sure.
the entirety
of the market. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and from my perspective, it's like they're and it's tough for people to conceptualize this right now when it's a broker's market and they don't necessarily have to go above and beyond to secure capacity, but that day might be coming. But then even if it doesn't, right? Even if things stay the way that they are, status quo, everything, what can you do to add value to your customers here as well? Because letting them know that, especially with freight theft being what it is right now and identity theft and all of that, letting your customer know, like, hey, we have a truck parking partner out there that has secure drop yards or has a secure property just down the street from the main receiver that we're bringing all this stuff in. We go and we provide that for our drivers. There's different angles that I think brokers need to be thinking of it. And now, again, if you have spot market freight that's pretty sporadic, this might not be for you today. But if you're out there moving consistent lanes that are, even if they're high value or not, these are solutions that you need to be looking into, because freight theft is of everybody's mind out there right now. And I mean, you guys just recently announced something here as well, I believe, about a partnership that you guys just recently brought on, correct?
We did. We actually, it's really a great story. So I'll hit on that story. Then I'll talk a little bit about what's the opportunity for the broker in the marketplace. So number one, fraud's a problem. It's the first filter that every broker, anybody moving freight, it's the first thing they're looking at. It doesn't matter whether you're a one truck owner operator or whether you're a $10 billion brokerage. It doesn't matter. That's the first thing you're going to look at. We end up going through a process of helping get some stolen cargo back in California. And so we actually worked with local authorities to help them recover it back, and the property owner to get everything worked back out, and the cargo owner as well to recover the cargo that had been stolen. I think 3 or 4 loads had been stolen from one location. So we started thinking, okay, well, how do we really amplify this? Because we do have a responsibility. Truck Parking Club takes this seriously, that we have a responsibility because we see where the trucks are parked.
Yeah,
that's a pretty big piece of data when it comes to solving a problem. So we already had an ongoing relationship with the guys over at GenLogs. And so we talked to them about what would it look like for our two systems to work together in really understanding where the trucks are moving and where they're parked, and really be able to put that into a searchable, advisable database for law enforcement that they can log into, and they can see it, they can have access to that, so they can be, a part of the solution when theft does happen. Because here's the thing, man, when a piece of freight gets stolen, and this is for everybody, listening to the Freight Coach today, you got to report it where it's stolen. You may live in Omaha, but it's stolen in California. You got to report it where it's stolen. So you've got to have local law enforcement to have access to data really quickly to be able to get the freight back if it's possible to get it back. And so this combination of Truck Parking Club and GenLogs creates a really excellent database on where are these trucks, where are they moving to, where are they located. So because that's a great piece of data, law enforcement to be able to do their discovery and do their investigations to be able to try to recover that. Well, number one, find the bad guys, and number two, recover the freight. So it's a really good partnership. We expect it to grow tremendously, Chris, in its ability to be able to help anyone, whether you're a broker, whether you're a carrier, whoever it is in the marketplace. Yeah.
No, and that's the thing, right? Yeah. You need a plan regardless. I want to sit here and hope, Brent, that everything goes right in my day, but frankly, at the end of the day, if you've had a pulse for longer than a minute, you understand things are going to happen. And in those moments, you need an action plan. Right.
Sure.
I don't advocate for anything to go wrong, but
who does? Yeah, nobody does.
And what you're saying there is very true, right? You need to know exactly where that freight is so they can get ahead of that as soon as possible out there. And having those details matters, right? So it's from my perspective, because I talk to drivers every single day. We book freight every single day inside of my brokerage here. And I understand the whole big brother mentality that the guys who are doing it, that are doing it right. The ones who are like, listen, man, I'm a legit provider. I've never had any of this stuff. And I get that. But I also, as a business owner, understand that I want to protect my company at all costs. And,
your customer. Yeah, sure.
And it's I've had a couple of guys on there from the, I don't know if you ever follow any of the guys on social media that post dash cam footage and stuff like that. Yeah. So they with truck crashes and all of that stuff out there. So it's I understand it's just another expense, or why are you looking at me and why are you doing this? But I also understand in today's day and age, when crimes are growing on a cyber rate and everything that's going on out there, you need to be able to protect your company because nobody else is. Nobody else is going to come and fix this stuff for you. So it's if you're hauling $100,000 cargo, $500,000 cargo, whatever that is, you need to be able to show your customers, hey, it's safe. This is where it is. And then here's the story in the event that something does happen. This is how we go and we fix this issue, because this isn't going away. Yeah. This is only, and especially with advancements in AI and other forms of technology out there, it's actually going to get harder and harder to spot. And then it's going to make it easier and easier for the criminals to get away with this stuff unless there are steps in place to show that story en route. Now, hey, my driver parked here in Orem, Utah. Now they're parked here in Boise, Idaho, and they're 30 miles out from delivery in Seattle, Washington. And you have that route that's going on with it. And then with what you guys are doing there with your partnership in GenLogs and Truck Parking Club, you got another data source for people to look at in the event something happens.
Well, yeah, and all excellent points, Chris. But and on top of that, speed matters. You need to be able to move quickly. I was just on with one of the leaders in the marketplace, and he was talking about that if you've got about 12 to 36 hours, somewhere in there, to really investigate quickly if you've got a chance to get your freight back. So moving quickly is important, and you can't move quickly if you don't have access to the data in the marketplace. So super important. So you had brought up another question about parking for brokers and stuff, and about really taking care of the customer need, which is one of the things I love how you're super hyper focused on. That is we all serve that customer, that shipper customer. So I think about things like what happens when there's detention or there's a delay in the truck being able to get loaded and get moving, and that knocks them off another route, or a delay getting unloaded. And so I think from a standpoint of like, if I'm a broker, how do I really maintain that core carrier relationship, and how do I really keep it strong? And because there's always going to be problems. I mean, the reason a broker is valuable is because they can solve problems like nobody else can. And so I just think about, well, what would a broker do? Well, a broker could offer, okay, let me help you find another load once you get that load to the next location, and let me get you parking for the evening so you're not set out, because parking is very difficult to find. I think it says that there's one parking place for every 11 that are needed in the market. So, so if I'm a broker, I think about that. I think about, how am I helping the exceptions in the market? So to me, that's a really big deal. Also, there's another big part of this too, when you just think about like having to stage customers, because not all freight's the same. Not all freight is just like a standard full truckload that's moving, and it's a standard commodity. Some of it's high value, some of it's sensitive timing to it. You've got to be able to stage and move things, but you got to have optionality. And if you don't have options on where to put it, then you're going to spend a lot of time trying to find a place to put it. What you need is a system that you can utilize and say, okay, well, here's access at these points where I can stage this trailer or stage this truck. I can leave it overnight. I can leave it where it needs to be, where it's ready for what it needs to move, where it needs to move next. And you can't do that if you don't have a network. And that's really what Truck Parking Club is trying to offer to the brokerage marketplace, is really that optionality.
No, and I've being in the industry for as long as I have, like we were just recently dealing with this, Brent, where we had to find a cross-dock facility in South Florida. The original receiver didn't have the we found somebody really, really good actually out there, but we're out there and we're trying to find, we had to build out a plan here where it's like, hey, we got to find a cross dock. The original driver needed to get out of there. The receiver didn't have the right equipment to offload this truck. So we had to find a cross dock facility that is out there. But then, hearing you describe all of this, my mind goes like, well, what if this was a super important shipment where we needed a driver staged to go into that cross dock facility at 5 a.m. the next day when they opened up, and there was no truck parking in that area. Now the driver's an hour out. He burns an hour on his clock trying to get in there.
It's talking about frustrated, right? Yeah.
And a lot of people always think perfect world scenarios, Brent. They always think, oh, that will never happen to me. Where again, you guys, I don't advocate for anything to happen, but I operate in the real world. And that was a very real example of what I just went through. And that is one of 50 times that I've dealt with that in the last 5 years, right? So, and it's all about having a contingency plan. Fortunately, like I said, I've been through that situation. I had an action plan in place. We rectified that situation within about 4 hours of it happening, right? And that was because I've been there before. And I'm here to tell you guys, like, you need to look at this, right? Like, and then there was another situation where I was about to call Evan. We had another one late last year where we had a power only driver who his original load, he didn't have time to go up to his yard to come down and grab our trailer. So I was looking at Truck Parking Club on your website, trying to find a yard close by to find them a secure drop yard so they can go in and drop their other trailer to grab ours. And again, you need to know who to reach out to in these situations. You need to develop, as a broker, you need to develop relationships with companies like Truck Parking Club, or my man Matt Fain at Pop Capacity, who helps out with cross dock facilities and stuff across the. You need to have that in your back pocket, because it's only a matter of time. And your customer, you guys, those are the situations they judge you on. They don't judge you when things pick up on time and deliver on time.
That's right. You got that right. Amen.
But
so go ahead. Yeah, well, I was just thinking about like what you were saying about what are they measuring you on, and they really are. When it's easy, anyone can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anyone, and I mean, and that's not where a broker really proves their mettle in what they can do. It's when it's hard, when there's an exception piece of freight or something fell off, and someone fell off moving a load and it needs to get moved, and it's important. And every shipper, the person that handles the transportation as a shipper, they're measured by they're measured more on the freight getting there than they are on what it costs. And so it getting there and managing those exceptions, I tell you what, is so important when you look at the movement of freight. And the thing is, and this is where I really love what we build at Truck Parking Club, which is we're just creating more options for the marketplace to be efficient, and that's super important. I mean, right now we're at about right at 2,000 property locations, about 35,000 plus parking places. You know, there's tons of truckers parking with us every single day. But the thing is, it's going to grow and grow and grow. You know, 6 months from now, we'll be somewhere around 5,000 property locations, 100,000 parking places. And when you get to that level, that all of a sudden becomes real important when you're thinking about how freight moves. Period. And so I think about brokers, and I think, okay, not all brokers are just non-asset. A lot of them have assets.
Yeah.
And so I just think about what's the value that goes into that. And to me, this is the most important thing to consider first, because most people don't consider this, Chris. They don't consider that the most important thing about truck parking is that you can be legally parked.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that, and some people go, "Well, what do you mean legally parked? I mean, aren't they when they're parked on an off ramp? Aren't they legal? They're parked. That's legal. Nope, that's illegal. When you're not parked in a when you're parked in a non-legal place, and any off ramp and on ramp are illegal, you open yourself to tremendous exposure to insurance and to legal cases. Because if you're parked in a non-parking place, if you are responsible for whatever happens to your truck at that location. And I just see this because most people don't think about it. They just think about all the other things. Yeah, certainly I want my drivers to be safe. I want to create efficiency. I want to create those other things. But the most important thing is, are they parked somewhere that's legal? Because you think about the nuclear verdicts and stuff that are going on and the things that happen in our marketplace. And it's just so important to consider the insurance aspect first, because if they're not parked legally, then you're opening yourself up to a potential legal suit that you could just bankrupt your business. So to me, that most people don't think about that at first, Chris, but we do.
No, definitely. And, you know, I see posts about this all the time about a driver was hit in a parking lot. Now they can't drive it. Otherwise, if they have to tow it to get it fixed, and then they're down for 3 weeks and stuff like that. And
think about this part. Think about, like, if you're parked in an off ramp or an on ramp, and this has happened more than one time, someone hits you. You would think, well, I'm sitting there, I'm not moving. Well, how am I at fault? You are 100% at fault if you're the truck owner, because that truck was parked somewhere it wasn't supposed to be. And in transportation, there's rules around transportation that govern us that say, well, if you shouldn't have been there anyways, and you were there, you are liable. And so that truck is liable, Chris, if another truck hits it, if a passenger car hits it, if, like in one case, a Greyhound bus hit it, and there were fatalities in it, that trucking company or that truck owner, whoever owns that truck, is 100% responsible for the situation, because you are parked in an illegal spot. I can't emphasize this enough for our industry. I'm not trying to, oh no, the theater's on fire. I'm just saying that you need to realize, it's so important to realize that because of the shortage of truck parking places, truckers are just, and because of ELDs, because they can't go beyond their hours. They're having to make choices that aren't the wisest choices in the marketplace, or the choice that you would want them to make. And that's super important to talk about.
No, and I agree. And, you know, we could sit here and argue what's fair or not fair all day long, Brent, but at the end of the day, we got to play the hand we're dealt. And this is the hand that we've been dealt, and this is where we are today, right? Like, I mean, you brought up nuclear verdicts, right? We could sit here and complain about how fair or unfair they are, which everybody says, you know, unfair, and that can't for the most part. But but what are you going to do to minimize your risk and your exposure out there in the market? You know, like, I get the whole inward facing, outward facing camera debate. I completely understand that and see that. But again, I've seen a lot of crash footage out there. I would want, there's a target on your back as a trucker right now. In that regard, from the nuclear verdicts and everything else, you need to show you were not at fault as soon as possible out there, so it does not bankrupt you, right? Because just like a lot of entrepreneurs out there, I have every dollar that I've ever made in my life on the line to make this work, just like every truck driver does out there. So I look at it as it is a strategic investment in protecting your asset that you utilize to provide for your family. And, you know, again, we could argue what's fair or not all day long till we're blue in the face, but the reality is where we are as an industry right now. you need to take steps above and beyond even 5 years ago to make sure that your freight is safe and secure that is inside of that truck. And then your truck and trailer is in a safe and secured spot at night because of everything that goes on there in truck stops across the country right now of, drivers getting hit and the other driver taking off, and then boom, you're left with that. You're left with another unnecessary repair out there. So I look at it as well, again, hypothetical example, I would rather pay $20 to make sure I am in a safe and secure yard than anywhere else out there from an insurance standpoint, from a liability standpoint, and from a safety standpoint.
Right. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you bringing that up, because in the end, the whole goal is to make sure that the truck driver is just taken care of as much as possible out there. And so the idea so insurance aspect is one part of it. So legal is one part of it. The other, you brought up safe and secure. So the idea that they're in a safe and legal spot for themselves, it reduces stress in their daily life, so that, because they know that they got a parking place to park in, but they're also in a predictable place that they know that they're going to be, it's trucker friendly. So I just think about that from a standpoint of, like, if I own trucks, that's something that I would want. I would want my drivers to be in a place that I know that they know, and that I know that my business is protected, but that driver's part of my business. It's part of, like, how I get things done. And so making sure that the driver's taken care of, and it lowers stress. And so there's a couple of aspects of that some don't even think about. Is like, okay, well, if you lower the stress for the driver and they have a better experience pulling for the fleet or whoever they're pulling freight for, is that actually reduces another giant expense for a fleet out there, which is driver turnover, which is churn. I mean, I think it's their second leading expense when it comes to the actual truck itself. It's so expensive. So it lowers churn. And the other thing that I think about too, though, in this, Chris, is this is something that not everybody thought about until we had ELDs.
Yeah.
And so electronic logging devices changed the game when it came to the operational efficiency of a truck, of any truck, whether it's a single truck or 1,000 trucks going down the road. Well, you can't drive past your hours of service. And I'm not advocating that you should drive past your hours of service, but when we had a marketplace that wasn't measured electronically every moment, truck drivers are very safe. Truck drivers are wonderful, safe part of our highway system. And so if they need to drive a few extra minutes to get to someplace they know they can get to, then, they're professionals. But that's not the environment we live in. We live in an environment that you have to be very careful about your minutes that you're driving, and make sure that you're living within the boundaries that the requirement that the government requires. And so because of that, most truck drivers are parking anywhere from an hour to 2 hours short of their hours of service during the day. Hours of service is how you make money. They got to be able to maximize their hours. Well, if you can't maximize your hours, that's a problem. But you can if you have a truck parking option where I can drive 10 and a half hours. I have a reserved spot at that location. Therefore, I can maximize my hours on any route, any route that I possibly can find the right parking at. So to me, it's a massive efficiency gain. So to me, that comes back to profitability. Yep. How does truck parking, and it's just nothing, it's nothing more than a data point in the route planning. Okay, I know I've got parking, so I know I can get from point A, I'm going to pick up this time, I can go that far, and I know I've got parking at this location. And so to me, it's an efficiency issue. It's a profitability issue, where if you can bake this data into your route planning guides, you can maximize your hours that you can run your trucks. And last time I checked, that's how everybody's paid. So route planning efficiency is super important.
No, I'm right there with you, Brent. And I think that's a huge point. Like, when we're out here planning your routes at all, this is why it's like, get on Truck Parking Club. Go see, is there a drop or is there a facility that's close by one of your main shippers or receivers or whatever that looks like en route, maybe, in transit, something like that. Look out there, because saving an extra 30 minutes of your clock because you've been parking at this, I'm not knocking on TAs, but you've been parking on this TA forever because it's close-ish by, and then 20 minutes down the road, there's a truck parking facility that's literally right across the street or 3 blocks away or whatever that looks like. You just never know. And I mean, I'm just saying, from a business development standpoint as a broker, I had no idea how many manufacturers there were in some of these little pockets until I got on Google Earth. And I'm like, wait a second, this place has been here this whole time. I've been picking up here for 8 months. And, again, it's like, you got to get out there and you got to dig into this stuff, because not everything is just on Google, right? And not everything is just a road sign away. You can get out there and dig in and find something, because, again, saving 30 minutes on your clock gets you that much closer to your next load. Because once your wheels are turning and you're moving towards that delivery, man, you're already thinking about that next load, and you got to be out there planning ahead, get ahead of this stuff. And same thing, brokers. If you're out there and you have any high priority shipments, or if you have any consistent freight that's out there, you should be on Truck Parking Club to see what is out there for you to utilize to help stage your drivers and set your drivers up for success. Because again, I can't tell any of my drivers how to drive or where to drive, but I can let them know, hey man, there's a truck stop at this area, or there's a paid parking spot for you at this area if you want it.
Yep. Well, I just think about time. You just talked about it. Time's all we got. We're all measuring time. How can we maximize the time? And certainly when you have a network that can help you do it faster, you can move more freight. And that's really what it's all about, man.
No, that is it. And Brent, that is it for time as well, man.
It's been great.
We killed it today. Hey, how does anybody reach out to you guys though to find out more about what you guys got going?
Well, just go to truckparkingclub.com. That's the best way to get us at all times. And so yeah, just we're available. The app's easy to download. You can download and be moving. There's no cost. There's no requirement to it. You can just download it and start using it. Put your information in there and get to parking, man. And if you're a property member, same thing. We can get you up and running in less than 24 hours typically. And help just create more and more opportunity for trucking.
Perfect. Brent, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. Great being with you. Yeah.
No, absolutely, man. It was great. And that's going to be it for today, you guys. We will be back tomorrow. As always, if you got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. If you're feeling really ambitious after this one, which you should be, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, that's how your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.